Okay, if we can get started. Call the July meeting of MTA Bridges and Tunnels to order. Are there any public speakers? No public speakers? Okay. The minutes of the June meeting. Any comments or concerns about the minutes? So moved. Everybody okay? Okay. Thank you. Committee work plan. Susan.
There's no changes, but Mitch, I can't get my mic on.
Oh, Helena
burned it out.
Helena burnt it out, huh? She talked so much.
Do you? Excuse me? No, nobody.
Here's mine.
Okay.
Mine is.
Okay, there we go. We're in business. Just before we turn to the agenda, the formal agenda, and there are no, by the way, there's no changes to the committee work plan.
Okay.
But I thought that we should start by talking about the fire on the Throgs Neck and the repair program that we briefed the press on yesterday and that I had sent information to the committee on. I think everybody knows that, we had a fire on July 10th. We were able to reopen southbound all 3 lanes. On that day, we were only able to open 2 lanes for cars only northbound. Between the 10th and over the past week, we assessed the damage to the facility and developed a traffic plan that would allow us to ensure safe travel while we put in place the longer repairs. And also, we did do some immediate steps to try to help ease traffic, which included things like suspending construction on the competing facilities, putting out dozens of signs, reversing toll booths when we could and it was physically possible, adding tow trucks to the Throgs Neck, the Bronx Whitestone, and the RFK. With respect to the repair plan, by this Saturday, the 25th, we will have made repairs to the structure that will allow most trucks to be back on the bridge, including those that have state divisible load permits this Saturday of up to 105,000 pounds. We think that what that will do is allow slow but steady traffic. You're going to have a mix of cars and trucks in 2 lanes, but we also think it will rebalance the traffic between the 3 bridges.
How will you let truckers know that the bridge is once again?
We've already contacted the Motor Truck Association, and we're going to be doing advisories and signs, because the other thing is that trucks will only be able to travel in the left lane around the fire damage, and then they'll have to move over to the center lane when it fans back out to 3 lanes. We will also be replacing all of the signs that we put out that will be affected, so that will happen before also. Then on August 10th, we're going to reopen 1 lane of the northbound Cross Island Parkway ramp, and that'll bring us back to 3 lanes and near normal operating conditions. The longer-term repairs are going to take us into the fall. We're going to need to replace and reinforce some of the steel girders. With respect to the cause of the fire, the investigation is ongoing, and we've not received the report yet from the fire department. But the fire, what we do know preliminarily is the fire was an accident from a spark from a torch that was used to cut steel that then fell onto scaffolding below the bridge and ignited construction material. We're holding the contractor responsible for all the costs of the repair and for making the repair, and we've insisted that they hire a safety monitor at their expense that's going to report directly to us. And we have also prohibited the contractor's employees that were involved in the incident from working at the bridge.
Susan, was this an incentive contract?
No.
No. Okay.
No, this was the redecking project that we talked about last month, actually.
Well, as with everything, sometimes you know how well you're doing when emergencies hit that you have no control over, and I think bridges and tunnels should be commended for what it's been able to do, albeit very difficult times for those of us who have to get off of Long Island. It is very difficult times when one of the bridges is not operating at its maximum capacity, not only for that bridge and the people who go over that bridge, but the people who go over the other bridges, because they get more traffic than they are supposed to because of the redistribution. Obviously, and Susan and I have talked at length about the issue of communication to the commuters, communication to the drivers, and how important that is, even in regular times, let alone in emergency times, going on. And being able to reopen the bridge as quickly as we can, and holding the contractor responsible are, things we're just going to have to try to do the best we can on. And how is that going to affect our construction schedule on the bridge? I mean, that's going to be the other issue, because we had plans to do other work on the bridge.
Yes, that's true, and we're still looking at how to hopefully get as close to back on schedule as we possibly can, because all of these projects are related in a sense. So it is an important issue, and additionally, we're looking at when we can resume construction on the other facilities where we've suspended construction. So these are all important issues that we, sort of the second layer that we need to get back into after we get the repair program underway. So you're right. Because
those are, consequences that are not direct, but they're indirect.
Yes, they are.
It changes the schedule that we spent a lot of time putting together to do other things on all three bridges.
Correct.
That we now can't do in the schedule we originally intended to be able to do.
Exactly. So we need to try to manage that and get back as soon as we can.
I'd like to add that I think from my point of view and the board's point of view, you and your staff, David, everybody has done a great job with this problem. Nobody looks for it. When stuff happens, you really get to see how good your management team is, and you guys all did a great job under the circumstance. I know everybody's grumpy about not being able to get to work and play on time because of the problems on the bridge, but you're handling it as best as any bunch of human beings can. So on behalf of the board and the people who understand how difficult this problem is, thank you all very much. And please do thank everybody else who's been working on it. We really do appreciate the effort, and we do understand it, even if the people who use the bridge are, still grumpy that they can't get where they want to get as fast. So again, thank you on behalf of the board. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that.
Any other comments on Susan's, on the report?
Okay, so we'll move to the regular agenda. Okay, David, report on operations.
Okay, good morning. The report on operations begins on page 15. For the month of May, we had 25.7 million crossings across our facilities, which was about a little more than half a percent below last May. Year to date, we had 117.4 million crossings, a decline of 3.1% versus a comparable period in 2008. If there is a small silver lining in these statistics, in Exhibit 2, you'll notice that the decline in traffic over the last 3 months has sort of leveled out a little bit. So I don't know if that means we're bottoming out or whether we're just at a point where it's leveled off. But if there is silver lining, that might be it. That's my report.
Okay. Don, Easy Pass.
Okay, the Easy Pass report begins on page 27. The recent trends we've been talking about continued in May. Our market share was just under 73%, down about 1.5 percentage points from the year before, reflective of lower traffic. A total of almost 1,500 Easy Pass on the Go tag accounts were opened in May, about 16% of all the accounts we opened, and since we began the program a little over a year ago, about 22,800 on-the-go tags have been sold, about 82% of which have been registered. So no questions. I'll move on to the May financial report.
Well,
The reduction in the use of Easy Pass, the numbers albeit small, are going down. We know that. So that would, and we know the total number of people are going down.
Right.
The composite number. Okay? So that assumes then, or that gives you the impression that some people who use Easy Pass are no longer using it because they would tend to be, we would assume, more frequent users.
Exactly right.
In people going to and from work.
That's right.
And that's why you get an Easy Pass, because you do it every day, as opposed to the discretionary traveler who is still using the system, albeit now at a higher number than was using it before. Is that the impression we're getting?
Yes, exactly. It seems to be commuter traffic that uses Easy Pass, and since job losses affects our traffic, we think that's why the market share is going down.
The market share of the Easy Pass usage is going down.
Right, but we're not seeing a lot of account closings either, which is also kind of an interesting piece of the mix, which also sort of further reinforces that people just are not
Right.
using their Easy
And
Pass.
that's because there's no charge for getting or keeping the Easy Pass account. If you don't use it, you don't pay.
That's right.
For lack of a better term, in that regard. So the hope is that they will come back.
Right,
Right.
when that either when they're reemployed
Right.
or when they're
Yeah,
using it regularly.
I was going to say, the only other thing I would add is that truck traffic is down. Truckers are about 90% Easy Pass users.
Right.
So even though they're a small component of traffic, they also add to the decline in Easy Pass traffic.
And we assume that's an economic
That's the same.
issue in that regard. Now,
That's-
one would assume that the July numbers will be somewhat skewed because of what happened.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, skewed for a couple of reasons.
Right.
We also had a toll increase on July 12th.
Right.
So July is going to be a month that, is going to be affected by what's happened with the bridge.
Yep.
As well as the toll increase.
David, what was the percentage
Jeff?
of Easy Pass was trucks?
About almost 90%. I think around 88%. It's in-
I think what he meant is 90% of truckers have Easy Pass.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I think you meant,
Well,
David, right?
No, every month, if you look at the statistics, I believe almost 90% of the truck transactions
Oh,
are
Easy Pass. Right, that's what I
okay.
thought.
But
That's what I thought you meant.
What percent of all transactions are truckers?
I'm going to say maybe 5.5 or 6%.
all right.
Right. That's what I.
Yeah, I got scared
I
for a
thought there
second.
was a miscommunication.
Oh, no, I'm
It's a big
sorry.
hunk
Right.
of
I
revenue.
had said that it was a
bigger
small
hunk
chunk of our
revenue.
total
Right, but
traffic.
most truckers have Easy Pass because it's easier and
It's a discount.
it's a discount and the company is paying.
That's correct.
But
in
now,
that
now
regard.
that the toll rates have gone up, the impression is that more people are going to use it just to get the break on the toll, whether they're an everyday user or an occasional user. Is that what I was hearing before?
Well, that would be
Well-
a smart person
Would do
would
that.
know that.
Yeah,
Okay,
just like the
That
way they
even
buy
if-
Metro
right,
cards, you
that
buy the
even,
best.
That even if you use it infrequently, since there's no charge for getting the pass,
Right.
and you get a discount for using the pass,
wouldn't you?
why wouldn't you get the pass?
Exactly.
Other than setting up the account, but that's.
But we're seeing an unusual trend here with what's happening with the economy. So we'll have to wait to see if that proves to be true.
Yeah.
But I think July is going to be a squirrely month.
Yep.
Squirrely in terms of the numbers because of the fire and the impact the fire had, as well as the toll increase.
Okay, next. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff.
I'm sorry. I didn't. Did we see an increase in rail, Long Island Railroad use
No,
this morning?
no, not in May and June. Yeah, both Long Island Bus and Long Island Railroad were down.
Nobody's going into the city for entertainment.
Well,
Yeah,
yes.
I was wondering more for the instead of driving, did
No.
we get people to start taking the railroad?
We're not seeing that. So obviously they're not moving. They're not
Yeah.
they're not changing modes. They're not moving at all.
They're staying on the
Right.
bus on-
Right, it's
Right.
all the same.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Susan.
On the financial report, I thought that we would do, the July financial plan is coming out
Okay.
at the board, so I thought that we would skip to, unless people had questions on the financial report, that we would instead do a few minutes on our plan and skip the rest.
Okay. I handed out the summary of the financial plan. At the Finance Committee on Monday, you'll be getting the full book with all the tables and narratives. So this is just kind of the 40,000-foot view.
Wednesday.
I'm not sure it's a finance or board. I don't know. Okay.
I don't know.
Oh,
That, Gary will tell you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, on the page 2, the first page after the title page, most important point we want to make is that our financial targets we were able to meet in this financial plan without affecting anything to do with our core mission, safety, operations, maintenance, or service levels. And we also are requesting no new needs in our 2010 budget. The next page, page 3, updates our revenue forecast from the February plan, the adopted budget. You can see it's going down revenue about $138 million, and that's almost entirely due to the change in the toll increase from the 23% increase to the 10% increase. There's also some other revenue that goes down, and that's primarily a result of lower investment income due to lower interest rates. On page 4, just a quick update of our expense changes against February. Basically, expenses are flat. Labor expenses go up insignificantly. Non-labor expenses go down slightly. We're restoring, as you know, some additional actions for budget balance. We're also there's some timing adjustments for some of the other AABB items, but the bottom line is it's only an increase from February to July of about $1.6 million.
You said you were restoring only some of the AABB items?
Yeah, these are the things that were already part of the discussion with the board. There were 3 items that were restored that were direct service related items.
And there were others that we kept?
Yes, the bottom line.
Yeah, there was
yes.
a long list that we
Right.
did keep, yes.
We had a $14.9 million AABB program. We're going forward with $10 million of that 14.9. The next page, page 5, updates the 2010 revenue from the adopted budget. It's a very similar story to 2009. The decrease between the 2 plans is almost entirely due to the toll increase reduction from 23 to 10%, along with the investment income from other revenue. And on page 6, the expense changes are also similar to 2009. Our bottom line expenses will actually be going down about $2 million. Very slight increase in labor, a slight decrease in non-labor, and this is how the AABBs play out in the out years starting in 2010. And then the last page really just summarizes it all and gets to total support to mass transit, which we are projecting will be $661 million for this year and $700 million in 2010. Total support to mass transit from 1968 when we became part of the MTA through this year with the additional $600 million plus will be about $16.9 billion since 1968.
How does the 661 compare to the budgeted number?
Well, it's quite a bit lower because of the 23% toll increase
Right.
in February. It was over 800, but that's...
And that was mainly because of the increase in the tolls.
That's right.
At that point.
As it compared to last year?
It's a little bit lower than last year.
Why would it be
Last year's actual.
Why would it be lower than last year?
There's higher B&T debt service that gets...
Right, for our own program.
Right, for our own
So
capital program.
your expenses went up?
Right.
The debt service
Yes, our
went up.
debt service went up.
Okay.
How much lower? Just a smidge, a lot, a little?
But it was a little over $700 million last year at the end of the year, 708, I believe.
So that's
Right.
a drop of $40 million over last year.
Right, that's actual to budget, but that's right. So, I mean, this is the budget. We'll see where it actually comes
I
out at the end
understand.
of the year.
And that's all debt service costs?
Yes, because the expenses are basically flat, and so it really is just a debt service.
Remember, as our own program has greater needs,
Yeah, no, I
the
understand.
first draw on
Yeah,
our
no, I-
revenues
Right.
are going to be for repairing our own structures. So you're going to see that as a trend going forward.
I just think that as we look at the budget and the financial plan, and maybe it's a conversation for next week, we should, it's a little bit, in my mind, a little bit disingenuous to be comparing against the February adopted because we're backing in and backing out, and I think year to year is
It's
much
very,
more appropriate.
it is, I agree with you, it's very, there's a lot to understand when you try to read the comparisons. But that's the way our budget process works, so, we're just following the instructions that we're given. Okay, capital?
Okay.
Okay, our capital report begins on page 43. We committed $2.2 million in June, bringing our yearly total to $14.1 million versus a plan of $78.9 million. This shortfall will be made up upon award of our project TB59, which has been bid successfully. Some responsibility issues that remain to be resolved, but we're confident we're going to be able to award very soon. This month, we awarded 2 administrative tasks valued at $1.15 million to provide insurance support for the capital program and also some internal force account support for a project we call AW82. We've also awarded a task to the NYPD to provide traffic enforcement services as required in the amount of $1 million. We completed 2 projects in June, bringing the sum of our yearly completions to $288.9 million versus a plan of $294.7 million, and 8 tasks valued at $49 million were closed out this month, bringing our yearly total to $93.1 million. And that ends my report this month. Thank you, and thank you for your kind words before.
Have you slept?
No,
I'm sorry?
none
Have
of
you
us
been able to
is-
sleep?
No,
A bit.
not really.
Lots of coffee.
Are we going to have to, Tom, redo any more of the capital schedule for '09 based upon the consequences of the fire?
No, I don't believe so. For what it's worth, the effect of the fire on the particular project TN50 is something that we will make up before that job is over. What is more difficult to determine right now is how it will affect the other jobs that are scheduled at Whitestone and Throgsneck, and we're working on that, as the President said.
Okay.
We're going to still have to make a decision about and look at the timing about southbound. When we do
Right.
southbound, remember, we started off where we were going to close the ramp on the Cross Island. We
Right.
obviously won't have to close it again, but, southbound's an issue, so we'll have to
How long were you going to close southbound?
we were
6
going to
weeks,
close
right?
each of them 6 weeks. The first one was going to be northbound. They were doing work in that area.
Well, after all this, I can only say a lot of people from Long Island are finally realizing where the Clearview Expressway is.
My backyard.
Okay, that's right. They never realized where it was because they never took it until now. And so they're, if nothing else, we're learning the map.
We're all learning.
That's right.
Okay, procurement. There's 5 this month. They total about $60 million. 4 of them are competitive. The first is a personal service contract with BCC Associates in the amount of $8.3 million for revenue processing services over a 5-year period. It's for money counting. This is a contract that we did try to get competition by getting Transit Authority involved and asking the Transit Authority to bid on it. Our conclusion after we got through a year-long process was that there is greater risk than reward in awarding it to Transit, and that it's not a good candidate for the shared services model. The good news is, though, the competitive environment stimulated by adding Transit to the mix saved over $600,000, which was a good thing for us. The second is a modification to a miscellaneous service contract with Highway Locksmiths that extends the current contract for 3 years to provide locksmith services as needed. This is jointly with MTA. Our share of the $378,000 is $274,000, and it's for when we think about locks, we have to think more broadly. It's panic bars and detection alarms and safes and vaults. So it's a bigger contract because it's not just small locks. The third is a modification to a public works contract with Conti to add funding in the amount of $750,000 to continue as needed deck and roadway repairs to the Bronx Whitestone. The fourth and last item is a modification to also a miscellaneous procurement contract with TransDign in the amount of $1 million, which is for the advanced traffic management system, which will help our command center monitor and manage traffic.
What's the
Do we
amendment for on TransDigm
What's the amendment for?
specifically?
It's for additional enhancements and new functionality for things like displaying, being able to control cameras and display signs. It's going from analog to video. It's a whole packaging of things, but we're trying to make sure that the command center can work as efficiently as possible. And the one thing that I have learned from this incident is that you really need that and want that.
Yep.
Do you want to take
Any-
the competitives before the ratification?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Any questions on any of the competitives? Motion to approve. Second. All in favor? Aye.
There's one ratification. It was a competitively bid public work contract with American Bridge Company, was awarded in the amount of $42.8 million over a duration of 1 year, 6 months to enhance the security of the RFK Bridge. And there's also an amendment as part of this ratification for an additional $6.3 million to revise the lane closure requirements. So the total amount of the ratification is $49.1 million.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Let someone second it first.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you say this is partially for improved security at the RFK
This
Bridge?
is a security project for the RFK, yes.
Will that impact the walkways that bicyclers and walkers use at all? Or?
No, in terms of during the construction, I believe not.
No.
Thanks.
Any other?
Actually, in terms of the plan for this is to do soft closures during off-peak times, and actually the amendment was to make sure that the roadway lanes were normal wide-width roadways, so we get back to a wider lane width for the RFK.
Any questions on this? All in favor? Aye. Anything else, Susan?
No.
Okay, motion to adjourn. We'll move. Second. See everybody in
everybody.
September.